Peter, a marvellous game. You'd be extremely happy with the team.
Oh, well, I guess there's still lots of room for improvement, but it certainly beats the last couple of weeks.
How did you feel when Norfolk threw everything at you in the first quarter?
Well, I didn't really expect anything different. I mean, the coaches built them up. They certainly were, would be fired. We anticipated that be the case, but they handled the pressure very, very well in the first quarter, and they kicked some very, very good goals and ran very hard. They played well.
Peter, given that you kept Norfolk goalless in the third quarter, are you a bit surprised that you didn't go on to win by a greater margin in the final term?
I think these sort of games are the same as, finals when there's, a bit at stake. You rarely see a pretty game in a final, and, I think you've got to give Norfolk credit. They're not going to lie down and roll over when there's things like that that are at stake, and I think there was pressure on. We only have to hark back to probably about the 23-minute mark of the last quarter, when I think there was probably, in a space of centre-half forward between two teams, probably 12 or 14 tackles laid, one after another, with no one getting clear with the ball. And it's a bit hard to run away with the game when it's like that.
You had some selection problems. Adams for one out, but a fine game by Brownless at centre-half forward.
Well, yeah, I think Blair did his job. I think everyone did their job, and I guess that's why sides win. You've got to do a given job on a given day, and I think probably we had 20 blokes that did that.
Have you ever seen a better ruck performance, however, than that provided by Honeybell?
Well, as I said to you before, unfortunately you can't talk to Honeybell. I think he's getting ice on his hands.
Yes, all right. Comment on these efforts, however, some of the lesser lights, Fry on deck.
Stephen Fry, I think, is establishing a fairly formidable sort of a record. He certainly has a wonderful attitude, and he's a kid that we've given him responsibility and he's handled it, and I guess that's what good players are all about.
Damien Hurd on Munnings.
Yeah, well, Duncan is extremely good player. He's in all aspects of the game. He plays his cricket well, he plays all his sports well, and he's got a sporting attitude, so he does good jobs all the time.
And the gutsy effort by Kidney to come back. He's obviously got a very bad arm.
Yeah, once again, I suppose we can keep rolling over through this one, that one, and everything else. Kids epitomises guts and determination. That's what it's all about.
It was a team effort, I'll concede that, but you can't get away from the fact that there were individuals out there that were prominent, and Noonan was one of them.
Yes, once again, Danny is he's a guy that believes in himself and believes in his team, and he has a certain attitude to the game, and he's never down, he's never beaten.
Andrew Scott kicked a few vital goals.
Yes, wonderful. I think we'll hear about them all the weekend, but yeah, Scotty did his job too.
You would be annoyed at all that premiership talk that has occurred throughout the season, but I'm afraid it's going to start again.
Well, that's something that we've got to live with. We've got to, whatever side is there, sooner or later that day is going to come around, and I guess if the talk continues, maybe it might convince us of something.
Clarence coach Peter Daniel, and Colin, you probably noticed that Peter, I know all through the week you knew he tried to play it down and not build up the match too much, but he tried to in the interview there too.
Yeah, he's very low key. That's the way he wants it. He's in charge at Clarence, I suppose, so that's the way it's got to be over there.
Didn't want a fuss made with the players because Jim Manson asked to speak to Graham Honeybell, the first one, and permission was refused.
And that is a bit disappointing because Honeybell, has been around for 100 years playing football. I don't
think he'd get a big head over being interviewed on television somehow, but still, we tried to bring them to you, but unfortunately we weren't allowed to. OK, let's go into the New Norfolk rooms with Jim Manson now, where he talks with Peter Chisnell.
Peter, you treated today's game as a grand final, really, defeated, but under these conditions, did you learn anything?
Well, that's what it was really. It was not so much a grand final, Jim, but more of a learning process for our blokes, because a lot of them haven't played, you know, in big games like this, and it was a good thing for them to be able to go out and under the pressures of a final type game. You know, they've come through pretty well.
An onslaught by the Eagles in the first quarter. Were you happy at that stage?
Yeah, I was happy, but I thought we were still, you know, there's a lot of unforced errors on our behalf, and you know, as the game progressed, we made quite a few unforced errors, and that did cost us a bit.
And Pete, that goalless third quarter, when kicking with a 60-mile-per-hour gale, what went wrong?
Oh, well, you know, those things happen, Jim, you know, and with my blokes, I don't berate them. You know, if they make a mistake, well then, you know, there's a lot of mistakes made. You know, there's a lot of mistakes made all over the ground, and you know, I tend to try and lift the players rather than berate them about it. And you know, as long as their endeavour on the ball, if they make a mistake, their endeavour is back to put themselves back on the contest, I don't mind.
But you've had that problem from time to time throughout the season, haven't you? In a winning position, and then you have those lapses.
Yeah, we've had a bit of a problem too, Jim, not being able to train on our ground, and you know, not being able to train under these conditions here. Like this, the condition of this ground was magnificent, and the bounce of the ball was a little bit strange to our players to start with, and took them a bit of time to get into the swing of things.
There was one positive aspect in the result. To be frank, at three-quarter time, I thought you could have been slaughtered, yet they kept grinding away and not much at the finish.
Well, I said that to them, Jim. I said, you know, the boys have got to go out and create some of their own history now. It's, you know, they're a new team. There's a lot of players that haven't played a lot of football here, and you know, they've got to go out and create their own bit of history now. And you know, this is not the end of the world for us. I was pretty pleased. You know, 18 points in the finish. It's not a long way away.
You had some personal problems off the bench today, Peter. A few words with Scott Wade, for example, and a few of the Clarence spectators got at you.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, that's all part of the game, and I just love the contest that much, and those things happen, and you know, I don't get too carried away with it.
Unfortunate what happened to Troy White, but by gee, he played a fine game on Troy White.
Yeah, he did too. He played a great game, and for a young player, he's one of the young blokes that we're really looking for. You know, he was backed up well by young Holmes, and those sort of blokes did a very good job back on the back line, because the ball was coming down there pretty quickly in the third quarter in particular.
Tonksy, I thought, did an excellent job up till half-time on Graham Honeyball, but then the boost became really a brick wall for you.
His third quarter, Moose's third quarter was very good, and you know, he was able to general and cut across our half-back line and you know, cut us off our half-forward line and cut us off a bit. But you know, Tonksy's game early was good, and he came back well in the last quarter. You know, perhaps he needs just a little bit more work, and he'll come good.
Is Shane Lowther going to be your centre-half forward?
Lowther, I thought, did very well early. There was a lot of holding on Lowther and Dak, but you know, they've got to learn to be able to break those chains. They've got to be able to get away from players that are holding and so forth. And you know, Lowther's going to be a very good player for us.
All right, well beaten, but with honour.
Yes.
What now?
Oh, well, we've got North Launceston next week, and we've got to now cement our spot in second. And, you know, we can do that by regrouping again and just getting back on the contest. You know, I mean, it's not the end of the world for us. I mean, we had very little to lose today, and, you know, we've lost the points, but we've gained some pretty good confidence out of it, and we've also gained a pretty good lesson from them. So we'll be there.
Thank you.
Yes, it's certainly not the end of the world, as Peter Chisnell said.
No, they lost the battle, but they haven't lost the war, so
No.
they might meet again.
I'm sure they will, and it's 1-1, so what a great final series it's going to be between those two, plus the other three that make it.
Yeah, it's going to be a tip-top final series.
I hand it to New Norfolk. I've got to be honest, Colin, I thought before the game Clarence could have blown them right out of it.
Well,
I just had that feeling.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did, and at three-quarter time you were justified to think that Clarence could, down the hill with the wind, run away and win by 10 goals. But to New Norfolk's credit, you know, they fought the match right out and only went down by 3.
Right, look, you've got to hand it to Clarence. There's no way they were going to lose top spot. They held on to it, but golly, you've got to give it to New Norfolk too for the way they fought it out and to finish within 3 goals of that Clarence side in what was a great game of football. I mean, I didn't see it, but going on what you said, it must have been best half of footy we've seen so far.
Yeah, it was a great game, and you know, football was the winner.
Talking to people afterwards, they were likening it to the State of Origin game, so it must have been good.
It was fast opening. You know, it had a lot going for it. Big crowd, which was great. Great atmosphere, and it was a good match of football. Great to watch.
OK, we couldn't talk to the Clarence players after the game, but we could to New Norfolk. Now Jim Manson talks with Gordon Zander.
Gordon, in your first season with New Norfolk, I believe you came from Queensland?
Yeah, mate.
So what made you come to Tasmania?
Oh, just a bit of a change, and changing my footy, mate. Yeah, I decided to come down.
What was your previous club?
Went to Zilmia, up in Brisbane, mate, yeah.
And how old are you, Gordon?
24.
That third quarter, what went wrong out there today when you were kept goalless?
Oh, I don't know, mate. We just seemed to go off the ball a bit, I think. We sort of, just before half-time, we sort of went off the ball and we sort of carried into the third quarter, I think. But, yeah, I think we just went off the ball. Right?
Well, you were beaten, but how did the fellas feel in the room tonight?
Well, we were beaten, sure, but we had a dip for the whole game. We never sort of laid down, which is a good aspect. Yeah, we never sort of laid down, which was good, and it'll come good come finals time, I reckon.
New Norfolk's Gordon Zander there explaining the players' feeling after the game. You're watching World of Sport. We'll be back with more Statewide League after the break.